make sure that you use that amount. Okay. You can deduct cost you incurred to lease a motor vehicle you use to earn income. Now, if you are earning the income and if you have leased the motor vehicle, you can deduct that cost as well, whatever cost you have incurred to lease a motor vehicle. So for calculation, you need to refer chart C, eligible leasing cost for passenger vehicle. So guys, there is a good calculation about for passenger vehicle leasing, and I think most of the people out here are recommending that you should go with the lease vehicle because it is going to help you a lot compared to the compared to your own vehicle in terms of cost and all. So yeah, you can try doing that as well in if it in case it's helping you out, because as Eleanor suggests that you can get a new lease vehicle every year. Okay. And then at the same time the expenses of the lease are deductible. So because if you're using your own vehicle, you just have to use the whatever expenses incurred, but in leasing vehicle you can calculate the leasing cost as well. So in that case it's a good thing. So if you are trying, just yeah, I mean, see how it goes if you can really try accordingly. Okay. So now how is leasing calculated? And I'm going to take you to calculate the leasing. We're going to do a little bit of small problem to just see how leasing expense. But I just wanted to show you this so that in that case you can see that it's not going up. Okay. So now this is the leasing thing. Okay. If it is okay. Eligible leasing cost for passenger vehicle includes the vehicle that would qualify as zero emission passenger vehicle if you owned it. Okay. Total lease charge incurred in the current fiscal period for the vehicle. Now, guys, there are lots of bases there. So try make sure not to get confused, but this is the straightforward thing. You just have to calculate it and then carry it, go ahead with it. Now, total lease charge incurred in your current fiscal period for the vehicle, whatever lease cost you have incurred, okay? Lease charge, what you paid it. Lease payment deducted before your current fiscal period. So last year, deducted before your current fiscal period. That is the previous period, okay? Total number of days the vehicle was leased in your current and fiscal. Total number of days the vehicle was leased in your current and previous fiscal period. So what is the total number of days you have leased it? Manufacturer's list price means whatever is the price of the vehicle which is suggested by the manufacturer. So that's something which you lease the vehicle, value of the lease. Now use a GST rate of 5% or HST rate applicable to your provinces. Amount 22. Now if you see this amount 22, we are going to calculate this. Okay, I'm going to give you a problem directly online from CRA just to understand how these things works. Okay. So suppose this is amount 22 is the manufacturer's least price, or 35,294, which is a standard amount which is given by CRA, plus GST and PST. That is a provincial sales tax or GST, or else goods and service tax, or HST, that is the harmonial sales tax. Okay, so that is a mix of both. So if you take up either whatever is applicable in your province, just take it on 35,294, and whichever is more, just calculate it times 85%. So you get a figure on 23. Do not get confused, guys. This is straightforward. Either amount 22 or calculation of this. Whichever is higher, just plug in that, and that's the amount on the line 823. Okay. Next is 800. Again, 800 is also given as a base. 800 plus, that's a base amount, okay? 30,000 and 800. So 800 plus GST and PST, or 800 plus HST times 21. That is the number of days you have used the vehicle, leased vehicle. Divide by 30. That is the 30 is the days. Well, that's something which is 30. It's given clearly. So that's the calculation which you use it and plug in the amount on line 24. Or 30,000 plus GST and PST, or 30,000 plus HST, divide by amount on 23, and then plug in that amount. Whichever is less, that is your amount of leasing cost. Now that is all standard, which is given by CRA on $800 and $30 and $30,000 and stuff. So let's go and try to understand it and let's calculate it so that we get an idea that how is it calculated. Okay. And because you get confused with HST, GST, and also at least you get, and whichever the amount is less, that's the amount which is calculated um, for the leasing cost. Okay, so let me go and let me take you there. Okay, so now can you see this example, guys? Everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So on July 1, 2019, Meadow started leasing a car that is a passenger vehicle. She used the car to earn business income. Her business has a December 31st fiscal period. The PST rate for her province is 8% and GST is 5%. So if you total down 13%, okay, or else individual 8 and 5%. So in her provinces, it's that. So Meadow entered the following information. Monthly lease payment was $500. Okay, lease payment is $3,000 for 2019, whatever time she's used the vehicle. Okay, manufacturer suggested list price is $33,000. Number of days in 2019 she leased the car was 184. GST and PST on $30,000. If you remember, we use a base amount of 30,000 as well as a base amount for 800, right? So there is a GST and PST to be calculated for both 30,000 and for 800 as well. So directly they have given the calculation, but we can do it personally, like 30,000 times 13%. So you will get 3,900. 35,000 times 13%, you'll get 44,588. 800 times 13%, you will get $104. Okay, so you will get different like GST and HST, whatever is prevailing, or GST and PST, whatever is prevailing in the relevant provinces. So based on that, you just calculate the GST. But they have given us a ready GST. Even if you try calculating it, you'll get an idea about it. Is that coming as the same or not, everyone? Just the GST. I'm just asking you to calculate because they have given you the ready-made. Anyways, you can calculate it while you're doing the problem. So if you remember, we saw the chart of the leasing. Okay, what do they add up in the leasing? They add up the monthly whatever lease payment for the year. Even the manufacturer suggested lease price is used, number of days she's leased the car, and the GST and HST. Now we will do the calculations. Okay, I hope everybody is with me and are following what exactly we are doing it. So we're trying to calculate the leasing cost. So in case if you guys are buying a vehicle on lease for your business purpose, this is the way you calculate it, and this is the way you report your leasing expenses. Okay, and including the motor vehicle expenses to claim the expenses in the business. Okay, so now Meadow makes the following calculation. Incurred in the vehicle was 3,000. If you remember, if you can see here, it's already there, right? Lease payment for 29. Total lease deducted in fiscal period before 2019, we are not given the information, so we put it $0. We don't need that. Total number of days the vehicle was leased in 2019 and previous fiscal period 184 days, because we just have that information. Manufacturer's leased price was 33,000. We are taking all this from the information given above. The amount on line 4, that is the manufacturer's leased price, or if you remember, the amount on line 4, if you have the business form handy with you and if you can see it in your in your system, then you can see the calculations. The amount on line 4, that is 33,000 or 35,000 plus GST and PST, whichever is more, multiplied by 85,000. So 35,000 and GST and HSPST is 4588. This times 85%. So whichever is more amount, you multiplied with 85%. So whichever is more, which is more anyways, 35,294 plus 4,588. What is the amount comes to? Um, 35,294 plus 4. Is everybody with me? Because I cannot listen to any voice.
Yes, ma'am.
35.
39,882.
So is it 33,899?
39,882.
Okay, I was doing 85
Times, oh,
times 85%.
Oh,
Right?
Okay.
times 85%. 39,193. 193.8.
30.
9.
So the amount on line 4 or this, whichever is more, multiplied
So
by
that,
85%. So 35,294 plus 4,588. Okay. 39,882 or 33,000. So into 85 divided by 100. So 33,899.7. So it is 33,900. You should get this amount, guys. Ideally, you will get 33,899.7.
Times
Which is higher?
55.
Higher is 35,294 plus 4,588, right? So 35,294 plus 4,588 comes to
Oh, yeah. 33,899.
Yes.
It round off 33,900.
yes, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's right.
99.7. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
So
right,
we just
yeah.
round it off, yeah?
Yeah,
So
round it off.
now this all information, previous information is all given. Now we're actually calculating it, okay? So this is the first line of calculation if we saw the chart. Now the second line of chart says that, like the sixth line says 800 plus 5% of GST plus 8% PST times number of days divided by 30. So times line 3, that is number of days divided by 30. So 800 plus 5% GST and 8% PST is already given. If it's not given, we can calculate it. What is 800 times 13%?
104.
Yeah, so that's what it is, GST and PST, right? Because
Yeah.
here it's there.
13%.
5 plus 8. You can calculate individually or you can calculate together. So this is GST. So
Sorry,
800
Fatima, I got lost. Where did you get the 800?
800 is
It's
the base
given.
amount. It's already
Given.
base amount which is
Oh,
already
it's
given by
already given?
CRN. 830,000
Plus
all is given.
8%. Oh.
Okay, Janet?
Yeah.
Okay. So 800 plus GST. If PST is there, PST, so here it's PST. So GST plus PST times number of days in the vehicle used divided by 30. So 5 is the GST, 8 is the PST, and 104 is already given. So 800 plus 104, let's calculate it, okay? 800 into 104.
800
plus 104 times 184 divided by 30. So it should be 5544.5.
plus 8% of PST. Disappear.
It happens, right? I know.
Where's the
84 divided.
See, this is the
yeah
GST and PST.
5544.
Yes. 554544.5. So it's going to be 5545. See, this is the amount what they have rounded off, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Next is, okay, continue doing it. And those who are done can go to the next one. That is again the base amount given 30,000 plus GST PST times line 1.
So 30,000 plus
If you want to know what is the GST PST on 30,000 is 3,900.
Oh, yeah.
800
Into 13%, right? So 13.
900.
plus
Plus 39.
Times 3,000, right? Divided by 43,900. Yeah. It will come to $3,000 anyways.
3,800.
33,900 times.
Line 1.
How much is the line 1?
Where's the
Line
line
1
1?
is say 3,000.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
the
Straight those.
now here it is given as line 1, 2, 3 because it's just
Mm.
one. But in the least costing chart, it will be line 14, 15, or I don't know. But you can just follow the instructions. It's just
Divide.
Ma'am, excuse
Line
me,
five
where is the line 5?
line 5 is this.
33,900.
Marcy, line 5 is. Hi, Marcy.
Yeah, it's 3,000.
33,900.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
that's the line 1. See, line 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 3,000.
So it's 3,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whichever is lesser, so is eligible for leasing cost of whichever is less. So 3,000 is less, so eligible for $3,000.
$30,000.
Yeah, just waiting for you to some of more people to give me heads up that you're done. So this all calculation happens in the business form, and then you plug in the amount or report the amount in the main form. Okay, so you have to follow the schedules or guidelines given that you have to calculate it.
So the GST 8% because we didn't see right how to and
Yeah, you
GST
can
8%, the PST is 5%, right? That's
so
why
that is yeah,
8%.
it's that is
Yeah.
13%. That's the reason.
Yeah.
But again, Eleanor, it depends upon provinces to provinces. Now
Yeah.
Alberta just have 5%, right? We don't have any PST or HST, right?
Mm-hmm.
So depending upon which provinces, this is just an example given. So which provinces are you in? You need to see the applicable GST, PST. Okay.
Yeah, very too much in the PST.
Too much in PST, charging
I
too
don't
much, right?
wanna I don't wanna live there wherever it is.
Alberta, right? Yeah, I know Alberta is much better. I think the
2%.
COVID cases in Quebec, Montreal is too much in Ontario and Quebec.
Yeah, too much.
So we are much better off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are we done, Janet? You done? You good?
Yes.
Okay. How about Mercy? Can we move forward?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay, now just to let you know, guys, that now sometime what happened that when you have a lease payment, you may have a repayment owing to you. You have to make some repayment to some party from whom you have taken a loan. You know, the borrowing. If you borrow money and then you make the lease vehicle or something, you get the vehicle on lease. In that case, you have to use another formula where you have to use the imputed interest as well. So imputed interest, you'll get the information on. Imputed interest is interest that you would be owing to you if interest were paid on the money you deposited to lease a passenger vehicle. So now you have deposited some money, but you have a repayment owing to you basically. So somebody is giving. I mean, you are actually you are taking the money on borrowing and then you're depositing the money and then you are getting the leased vehicle. In that case, you will have to use some other formula, and in that case you have to calculate the imputed interest by calculating either a couple of conditions are applied. One or more deposit were made for the leased passenger vehicle. One or more deposits are refundable. The total of the deposit is more than $1,000. Well, this happens when sometime you are owing when you have a repayment owing to you, and you may have an imputed interest. In that case, you may have to make the imputed interest to be paid. So in that case, the thing is totally different. But I'm sure this case may not come across most of the time because the amount of I'm not sure. Do you take the line of credit and you deposit the money, or how does that work? I'm not sure that how does the leasing happens. Actually, leasing, do you deposit some money when you are leasing a vehicle? Has anybody leased the vehicle ever out here? Eleanor, have you leased the vehicle anytime?
No, not yet.
Yeah, even me as well. Not
Future.
leased.
In the future.
Okay, but make sure you adhere to the guidelines before leasing as well. Just not Abby and Jesse. I'm just going to give you a heads up. When you go for leasing a vehicle, just go and look at the guidelines on the CRA and then go ahead with it. Okay, do not just go ahead without it. Unless at least
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
just so that. But generally, we use that formula. What we have been using it for leasing the vehicle, ideally, you know. But in that case, the formula will be different. That's the only thing. You
Oh, yeah,
cannot
that's-
use you cannot use that formula. You have to use the basic interest formula. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! When we bought a new car,
Yeah,
they told us if we're gonna go to leasing or to the
we just find it more what you call this?
Information.
I mean, no, it's more it's much
Expensive?
better to
Yeah.
own than to lease.
lease.
Okay, because I'm not sure that well, which is much more profitable depending upon the type of
Yeah.
business, depending
Regarding
upon
with the business, yeah, we're not sure if it is much
Yeah,
better.
yeah, so I would always suggest you guys before, don't try to lease before. Get
Yeah,
some
you have to study first to learn.
yeah.
Yeah.
If it's if it's
So you
profitable for you,
you
it's
can
okay.
always
But
try
if
to
not,
talk to
yeah,
people
you
who
have
have
to-
already leased it or something. Leasing is good,
Yeah.
depending upon what exactly
It
the
depends what
business is.
business you have, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, right,
No.
right.
But you can write it off too, even you own the car, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, we can.
Yeah, but
Yeah, writing off happens is that you calculate anyways the depreciation, so you can write it off anyways.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good to list also the car because you know if you list the car.
Yeah,
and
I know.
It's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
it's
I know. I have friend
Because I think
realtor.
it's 60% that you can get from that. My
Yeah,
husband told me.
Before we don't know it, that's why we get
Yeah,
that.
no, I think you can even
That's-
deduct because you
that's
bought a
it.
new car, Jesse. You can even deduct the interest on buying as well as so even the depreciation you can deduct it.
Just
so it's okay,
the
yeah.
in card.
Yeah.
Card
Because
expenses.
Yeah, so in that
it's only
case,
now that I
whatever.
figure out that leasing is better. If you have run a business, leasing is better than financing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Just only now
Yeah.
when we discussed it,
Yeah.
I figured out that
Yeah.
leasing is better because when I was working also in the company, all of our company cars leasing only. I was there handling and I don't know why there's leasing and there's financing. Yeah, just only now I find out that leasing is better.
Yeah, I think even
Yeah.
Eleanor, well, again, it depends upon business to business, but I think as Eleanor was telling that she has many of her friends who is actually
Yeah.
doing the business based on the leased car. So maybe that would be a
Yeah.
better option too, because you'll be able to deduct that kind
Yeah.
of expenses too. But again, I would say,
Depends.
yeah, it depends. And
Realtor, the owner of Barrio Fiesta, the owner of Sushi Bar in Marlboro. They're all leasing. They have leasing car.
oh, and they all are your friends. That means you are so
Yeah.
rich. That means.
No.
Okay. And even I think as Kathy's mentioned that yes, as per her husband, that leasing is better. So yeah, see how you go, guys. Do not take any decision, any expensive
Just-
decision
yeah.
without researching. That's what I would say, because everybody's case to case. Again, you know what, we cannot generalize in every case.
But he said
Everybody
you can write off too, even though you own the car.
Yeah, you can write off. That's what I was telling. We can just calculate. We can just do the capital cost allowances and write off the car every year. You can deduct some amount of depreciation.
and you have no headache if it's broken. They can replace it.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, whenever.
But then in that case, you know what? You don't. They can replace it. Then you cannot claim the repair and expenses, repair and maintenance.
yeah, that's for them. Yeah.
So that's for that they will be able to, but not you. Okay, from your vehicle
Yeah.
expenses.
I mean,
Yeah, but if you lease, it's like that you have a certain mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They-
you
they-
don't have to reach
Yeah,
over that
the
mileage.
or else you're gonna pay much
Yeah,
higher,
you're gonna pay more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Before
yeah,
we-
that's what
yeah.
it
When we get a car,
depends. That's why it
he
depends.
told us that,
Yeah,
if you're
because
gonna
I think
have
Jesse
only
and
allowed mileage to use, if or else
yeah,
if you're
You're
because
gonna
I
gonna
be
think
pay.
over,
Jesse
you're
and
gonna
FD
pay
has a
more.
car. Specifically, they're using car all the time. I think owning a vehicle is much more better than leasing. What I believe, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
as I think
And
Eleanor was talking, maybe of all the businesses, they're not using car all the time. They're just using for a limited purpose.
Yeah.
So again,
and
yeah,
they're just starting the business, right? So maybe
Yeah.
they don't need to.
Yeah, because
And
it's
then
almost every day we have deliveries, so that's why for sure we're gonna reach more of the mileage that they will
Yeah.
give us. So that's why we choose to not to lease.
exactly. And
yeah,
you don't have to
that's why
worry
it
about all that.
depends on you.
Small thing,
Yeah.
you cannot worry about it then, because when you're
Mhm.
running and you are having vehicle, like people who are running, like people who are doing skip the dishes, or people who are doing like delivery business, if they have restrictions on mileage, then it'll be very difficult. They will just be scared all the time, that
Yeah.
the trip exceeds the mileage. Yeah, so I think this is a good idea to have your own vehicle, because all the expenses related to the vehicle you can anyways deduct it, right?
Yeah.
So you can deduct all the expenses, like everything what is there, rather than just keeping it on, because in lease you will have another terms and condition where you are not able to deduct some expenses because it's a leasing cost. You are just deducting the leasing cost, not the rest of the part,
Yeah.
right? So yeah,
So it's not good for your business.
Yeah.
but
Because you're
again, I
running
would say
around,
that
right?
yeah, do some kind of research if at all you feel that
Yeah, unlike these people, they're just home and then going to like limit only.
Mhm.
The time they're running all the time, right? So
yeah. So do not in any case, I would say any income tax case, do not
it
generalize it,
depends. Yeah,
guys. Yeah, do
yeah,
not
it depends.
generalize
I
it.
said, yeah.
Exactly. Now, as I think if you are buying, if you are having a motor vehicle, okay, you can even deduct the capital cost allowances expenses of the motor vehicle. Now, depending upon when did you buy it, if you're buying it at a particular year and the amount of the motor vehicle is greater than $30,000, okay, then in that case it comes under 10.1 class. So there are separate classes of motor vehicle depreciation. Now capital cost allowances is the depreciation. I would just like to show you something here. So in that case you get an idea that you need to fill that. I know it's a very exhaustive form again. uh, So you can write off, as Kathy was talking about it. Well, you can calculate the capital cost allowances, and you can deduct to that amount the expenses of CCA on the motor vehicle. So in that case, it's easy for you to deduct the expenses every year. Where did that go? Okay, it's here. So this is the chart. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to do this. Hmm. Okay, let me see if I am. Looks like, yeah. So this is the chart what you have on calculation of capital cost allowances. So each and every area, it's an undepreciated capital cost allowances. Whatever new motor vehicle you buy it, what is the cost of addition in the year, like the capital cost, okay, not the other cost or any cost which you incur it to bring the vehicle to your place. So there are additional cost of which is included in the cost of the purchase price of the asset, and then you have to deduct the certain percentage of depreciation on that. Now depreciation will always, you can always get the guidelines of what percentage of depreciation can you calculate it based on the classes given in the, if you remember, if you can see in your, not now but you can see in the offline time, if the classes of assets which are mentioned in the self-employed PDF which I have given it to you, you will see that what are the assets and what are the rate of capital cost allowances you can deduct it. So that is the amount you can deduct it, and to that extent, so that is, see, this is the box 11, it says CCA rate. So that is the rate at which you can deduct that that rate of expenses or write off expenses. We don't use the word write off, we use the capital cost allowances claim. So that is a kind of depreciation. An asset will get, if you buy an asset today, okay, in 5 years an asset will get old and its value of the asset will get reduced, right? So businesses are allowed to reduce the value of the asset every year to some extent. You cannot add the cost of the purchase price in the to reduce the claim or to claim the expenses of the business. But in that case, you can claim the depreciation or the capital cost allowances expenses, so that you know what, you can at least by the end of 5 years, suppose your asset is, I'm just giving an example, suppose your asset is like $30,000, okay, your car is for $30,000. So $30,000, if you estimate that it's going to, like, it's going to work very good for next 6 years, okay, so you divide by 6 years, okay, so that is 6 divided by 30,000 divided by 6, so it's going to be $5,000, okay. So that's something which is the amount of depreciation which you can claim it every year and deduct that amount from the value of the asset. So in that case, you will reduce the value of the asset. So by the end of the 6th year, when you come, you are going to come to zero. So every year you are deducting 5,000. It's not straight 5,000. You have certain percentage. You have certain classes. So you need to look at that classes. You need to look at where it is applicable. And even I mentioned it out here that you need to, I'm sure Jesse and Abby, when they are, they must have filed it, they must have calculated some amount of cost, capital cost allowances as well. So if your asset is bought before 2019 and if it is less than $30,000, it comes under 30% and under class 10. So there are certain calculations in that in details. So you can calculate that. And if it is greater than 30,000, if it is bought in 2019, it comes under class 10.1. However, the applicable rate will be 30% itself. Okay. So if you use a property you own, such as building, motor vehicle, furniture, or equipment in your business, you might be able to claim CCA, that is the capital cost allowances. Or you might acquire a depreciable property such as building, furniture, or equipment to use in your self-employment activities. However, since these properties may wear out or become obsolete over time, as I said, you can calculate depreciation because this equipment might wear out or become obsolete. You can deduct the cost over a period of several years. The deduction is called capital cost allowances. You can usually claim capital cost allowances on property when it becomes available for use. CCA you can claim depends on the type of property you own and the date you acquired it. Group the depreciable property you own into the classes. Like suppose all the properties, like all the motor vehicle and coming under class 10, you group it together. If any motor vehicle coming under class 10.1, you group it together. This is all very important for the depreciation purpose, at the same time very important for the capital gain purpose as well, when you are selling, when you're disposing it. So your passenger vehicle can belong to either class 10 or class 10.1. To determine the class your passenger vehicle belongs in, you have to use the cost of the vehicle before you add the GST or HST or the PST. Include your passenger class in class 10.1 if you bought it in your 2019 fiscal period and it is more than $30,000. List each class 10.1 vehicle separately. Consider the capital cost of 10.1 vehicle to be 30,000 plus GST. The 30,000 amount is the capital cost limit for passenger vehicle. So because of the GST and HST, they use the GST rate of 5% and appropriate PST. If your province is a participating province, use the appropriate HST. Class 10 also include motor vehicle as well as some passenger vehicle. So you need to identify where in the class 10, where in which class doesn't come in. Okay. Now there's an example given. Why do you use the different classes? Okay. Give me a second. I know this is like a too detailed one, but this is really helpful for the self-employment guide. If you remember, I gave you before lunch. I'm going to take some kind of CCA from there itself. I think capital cost allowances. Yes, I can. Okay, I'm just trying to type that for you. So what type of vehicle you own, that is also very nicely given it in the guide. So you can have a look at that too. Before that, I want to look at the capital cost allowances. Going through some part of capital cost allowances. So this is capital cost allowances. So you will get an idea basically if you don't, this is, I've taken it from the self-employed guide, you know. So if you are not sure what exactly it is, you can see that you can deduct the cost of property when you calculate your, this is farming and fishing as well, but you will have lots of other capital cost allowances. I want to see the separate classes percentage, okay? How much you can claim, basic information for people who actually can take some guide from that, okay? I'm just scrolling through the capital cost allowances so that you get an idea about it. So if you add building addition, how do you take that? It's too exhaustive. Every topic is too exhaustive, guys. Now let me see the classes, okay? The classes, there are percentage given here. See, these are the classes of depreciable property. See, now class 1, 4%. The building may belong to class 1, 3 or C depending on what building is made and the date you acquired it. So any property, because when you're doing a business, not only in the motor vehicle, apart from the motor vehicle CCA, you can also claim the CCA for other assets you are owning it. So how are you going to calculate that CCA and how is it going to add up? It's equipment, not a motor vehicle, but apart from that, if it's an equipment, or if it is any other asset, how are you going to depreciate it? So in that case, what to include when you depreciate it? So that's what it is classing it classes it's showing. So 10% class 6, class 8, 20%. See, class 10, I was talking about it. Class 10 with CCA rate of 30% include general purpose electronic data processing equipment, commonly known as computer hardware and system software, including ancillary data processing if you acquired them. Now, if you see here the line, class 10 also includes motor vehicle as well as some
Yeah.
passenger vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Class 10.1, your passenger vehicle again. So to determine the class your passenger vehicle belongs to you, you have to use the cost of vehicle before you add the GST and PST. So they have given a kind of example to you. So include your passenger vehicle in class 10 if you bought it in your 2019 fiscal period and if it is bought more than 30,000. 10.1. List each class of vehicle separately. We consider the capital cost of class 1 vehicle to be 30,000 plus related GST and PST amount. So that's something which they're talking about. So now Vivin owns a business. On June, let's try to understand it. On
Mhm.
June 21st, 2019, she bought 2 passenger vehicles to use in her business. PST rate for her province is 8%. Vivin keeps the following record. Now cost is 33,000 and 28,000, right? GST is 8%, so that is one, and sorry, PST is 8% and GST is 5%. So total cost is this. Vivian put vehicle 1 in class 10.1 since she bought it in 2019 and it's cost her more than $30,000. Yeah. Before Vivian enters into amount in the column 3, she has to calculate GST and PST on 30,000. She does this as follows: 30,000, 5%, so 1,500. And PST is 8%, that is 2,400. So this is something which about the calculation which if you do it in your chart, you know. So that is what she's saying, area B and area A. So area B and area is your calculation of your business business form, what we are doing it. So that's what it relates to the GST. The reason for them to be put in class 10.1 or class 10.10 is that's the reason. Vivin capital cost is 33,900, 30,000 plus 1,500. So she enters this amount. So even if her cost is 33,000, okay, she will be calculating based on 30,000 plus 1,500 plus 2,400. Even puts vehicle 2 in class 10 since she bought it and it does not cost her more than 30,000. So Vivian's capital is now, guys, if you bought any vehicle before after 2019, like Vivian bought it after like in 2019, so her GST and PST will not be on 33,000. It will be on $30,000. See, that's what they are saying, that before Vivian enters any amount in column 3 of area B, that is in the form, she has to calculate GST and PST on 30,000. She does this as follows. So for first vehicle of 33,000, she just calculate 5% on 30,000 and 8% on 30,000. So total capital cost is not 33,000 plus GST, but it will be 30,000 plus 1,500 plus 2,400. So that is where the difference is if you bought it after 2019 and if it is more than 30,000. However, she bought another vehicle which is less than 30,000. So since she bought it 2019 and it did not cost her more than 30,000, her calculation will be as normal, like 28,000 plus 5% and on 28,000 and 5% on 8% on 28,000. Let's calculate that. That's what we have to 28. Yeah, so 1,400 and 28,000 into 8% divided by 20 to 40. So if it is bought in 2019, so it has to be calculated based on 30,000, not on 33,000. She paid it higher, but it has to be calculated accordingly as per the class. So that's what is saying. We consider cost of capital vehicle as 30,000 plus GST. So the 30,000 is amount capital limit for a passenger vehicle. Because otherwise what happens is that if they keep buying it, like people keep buying the car for $50,000 and they keep adding up that and they keep reducing the amount of depreciation. So they have given some amount of limit. Make sense, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. So if any vehicle is below 30,000, it's okay. You calculate as normally.
As
But
normal.
if it is higher than 30,000, means you just calculated 30,000.
30,000.
You don't take it higher than that, just because you know what it's going to be an expensive affair for CRA as well, right? Everybody will try to take an advantage of that otherwise.
Okay.
But then, guys, I would always recommend you go ahead with calculating and go ahead with reading more in detail if you're really interested into that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because if you see that PDF, it's like such a beautiful detailed one. Okay, so that is all about capital cost allowances. What you can claim it, or you can get the claim the expenses to that extent. Okay, but these are the two relevant cost for or relevant classes for motor vehicle expenses. If you have other equipment, you can even claim for that too. There are other expenses more than that, what we have discussed, but then there are insurance, interest and bank charges. Motor vehicle, we discussed about it. So in insurance also, you can deduct commercial insurance premium that you pay for insurance on any building, machinery and equipment you use in your business. Motor vehicle insurance costs are listed, it's listed in the line. The insurance cost related to business use of workspace in your home have to be claimed on the separate area. In most cases, you cannot deduct your life insurance premium. If you use your life insurance premium as a collateral for a loan related to your business, including fishing business, you might be able to deduct a limited part of the premium you paid. Otherwise, it has to be commercial insurance premium, okay? Which you are using it for the building and machinery. for the use of that business. So if you have a property or if you have a building and you're using it for business, then you take in the insurance and you make the payment of the, then you are able to claim that. You can deduct interest on money borrowed for business purpose to acquire property for the purpose. Yeah. If you are actually borrowing the money to generating the business, then you are able to deduct that amount. Suppose you borrowed $50,000 because you want to invest in your business, okay? And you're paying the interest on that business, so you can deduct. It's deductible, okay? It includes. There is limit. The interest you can deduct on money you borrow to buy passenger vehicle. Yeah, well, we already talked about it, right? The interest is, it has to be a lesser of either $10 into number of days or interest payable during the year. Amount of interest you can deduct for a vacant land. Usually you can also deduct interest up to the amount of income from the land that remains after you deduct all other expenses. Okay, so you can also deduct the interest on the vacant land. You cannot use any remaining amount of interest to create or increase the loss. So don't try to create or increase the loss so that you can carry forward it, okay? You cannot deduct them from the other sources of income. Fees, penalties, or bonus paid for a loan. You can deduct the fee you pay to reduce the interest rate. Sometimes you pay the fee, right? To reduce the interest rate. So you can also deduct any penalty or bonus a financial institution charges you to pay off your loan due it is before. For example, if the term of your loan is 5 years and in the third year you pay a fee to reduce your interest rate, treat this fee as a prepaid expense and deduct it over the remaining term of loan. So that's what it is deductible. So for interest and bank charges also, there is a long list of thing what you can deduct it and then can claim it. Now, let me tell you that payment of business expense is not limited to this many items. If you go through the self-employed, or rather you go through the to the form of the CRA, like the T2125 form, which you have to submit it for claiming or reporting the business income, you can see that there are many other expenses which are proportionate to the one which you can claim it. Now there are expenses which relates to let me see.
Fatima, I have a question regarding meal and entertainment.
Yes.
Does it only apply to the business owner, or it could apply also that he spend money for the clients?
To whom? To the employee?
Yeah, is it no to the clients? Like for example, you have a client to say thank you, or like on Christmas you give them a meal, you make a meal for them. Is that also considered?
So, okay, now let me understand you. You trying to say if a business has a client, so you are saying thank you and giving them gift to your client, or
Yeah.
client is giving. Okay, so if it is a meal and entertainment related to the client, yes, businesses can claim the meal expenses, because you are actually incurring the expenses to generate the extra business, right? So you can claim that.
Yes, Ate Janet, you can claim it. Like, yeah, we did that also. Even the gift, you just
Yeah, I know the gift, but I was
yeah.
not sure with the food, the meals.
Yeah, the
No,
food,
you
the
can
meals.
claim it. Yeah,
You can.
claim it.
If it's you engage with the customer and the
Yeah, yeah.
clients, you can.
Yeah, it has to
Yeah.
be related to generating your business, and you can claim it.
Yeah, if you have a meeting with the client, of
Yeah,
course.
exactly. So that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I cook for them because they like Filipino food.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same
you
thing.
can.
Yeah, same
You can
thing.
use the receipt. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep the receipt. And also other question. If
Go
I
ahead.
choose an
Guys,
accountant,
there's some noise coming, please.
if
Okay.
I change my accountant and I have a carryover, does the next accountant would see my carryover?
Yes.
Okay.
Because your accounts won't change it, Your accounts will be the same and he will have because your previous accountant, you need to get all the information from your previous accountant to the present, because otherwise he'll not have a base, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he need to see the opening balances of the previous years or the closing balances of the previous year's account, so that he can carry it to this year. Like you can close the income statement, but you cannot close you can close the income statement and you will have start over all over again the income statement, because it's year on year basis. But balance sheet you have to carry, because you will have assets, liabilities. So you have to accounts receivable, So whatever you have it has to be carried forward, right? Whatever balance is. So yes, you can see to it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we move forward with this expenses. So as I said you that there are not limited, and I'm sure Jesse and Abby must be agreeing to that. There are so many other expenses and you can deduct it, right? So these are all the expenses you can deduct while you are incurring. And if you want to have a look at that, how much you can deduct it, you can always have a reference to the guide which I have forwarded to you, and then you can, it has to be all related to the business related, and make sure it's not something which is related to your, separately. It has to be all business related, not the personal related, not the personal expense.
Party related. Birthday party.
Sorry?
Birthday party related. No, that's personal.
Are you sleepy now?
I'm awake.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so repairs, maintenance, salary and wages. So if you are paying some salary and wages to the employee, so make sure you include your contribution part as well, because you are contributing as an employer. Property taxes, travel expenses, utility, fuel, except for the motor vehicle, because you have already mentioned in the motor vehicle, right? Delivery, freights and expenses. Now, capital cost allowances. So if you are aware, we talked about it. They mentioned it separately just because you can add up the other capital, other amount of wear and tear of equipment, building, everything. Any other expenses you can specify it and you can deduct that. Okay, so they are all the part of the expenses what you can claim it. Now, there are certain deductions as well, which we will be going through it. And my idea of now is like I'll complete these deductions, and after that I'm going to give you the reviewer. Okay. Do you want to give the exam tomorrow? Class test, okay? Not the exam. How are you guys going?
Quiz only,
Assignments?
ma'am.
How are you guys? Sorry?
Quiz only.
Quiz. Okay. Now let me tell you that it's just a mix of quiz, one-liners. One question is a detailed one, but guys, it's nothing new. Whatever we studied is from that part only, okay? But it's a mix of all because we are not conducting any mid-exam this time, right? We are just having the assignment, a class test, and the final exam. Now, I was telling in the beginning in the morning when I was talking to Kathy that final exam I'll conduct it coming Sunday. But if coming Sunday we are having a Victoria Day off, I'm not sure. I'll get to know tomorrow. I'll inquire tomorrow and let you guys know. So if we have a Victoria Day off, then I will conduct exam on a weekend later on, next Saturday. So I won't give you any stress next weekend. It will be next to next weekend, because we have some stuff to finish, and then I don't want to stress you out with finishing that stuff. And then I will just conduct that exam for just that particular exam time. After exam, we'll start with the new module. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So tomorrow I will give you some. You have to do the exam, but I will give you the reviewer today. So you will just be
Oh,
ready
good.
with everything.
Wow.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
ma'am.
Yeah, with
Thank
some guidelines about where to refer. I know I don't want to stress you out, because, and I have to be fair enough, because I give the review. I have given the review to evening student as well, so I have to give it to you. I cannot be unfair with you. See, I'm so fair.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, guys. So there are certain specific deductions. Who is saying? Somebody's put it on chat. Thank you, ma'am. Rachel Velders. Oh, no worries, Rachel. No worries, Lai. Okay, so specific deductions. There are some specific deductions which are allowed. Oh, okay, there are some more chats. No worries, Janet. You are allowed to do some as per section 20 of subsection 1 in paragraph 1 M and M.1. So there are certain specific deductions you are allowed to make, and deductions are actually allowed for deductions, they are allowed to create a reserve which you can deduct it. Okay, now I'm going to explain you one example with the with whatever I'm going to in the further slides. But yeah, so you're allowed to create some reserves. Have you heard about the term reserve anytime, or do you know what you mean by reserves? not the water reserve. Okay. Anybody? You know what do you mean by the term reserve? Okay, so reserve is like, suppose for example, like you try to create a reserve and you try to save some money, like when you are at home. Okay, now females try to create lots of reserve. Back in India, I know, like what they do is, uh, like everybody has do the business, like husbands do the business and everything, and they spend money. But females try to have some kind of money saved aside, so in the tough times, they can be utilized it, right? So that's kind of in a more simple language. It's kind of a reserve. Reserve is more like you try to, in case of unexpected event, like contingency event, or something happens. Like suppose COVID came up. Okay, there are so many companies must have had unexpected event reserves created so they can use it during this time. Yeah, emergency. Very good. Thank you. So it's an emergency fund. Whatever you can use it. However, there are certain reserve you are allowed to create it and deduct it from your business for the business purpose when you are doing your business from accrual method perspective. Reason being that you're not sure that you are able to collect the money you are able to collect that money, or you will get that money in future or not. And so in that case, to create that reserve so that you are in a safer point. Now, how it happens? So reserves are created for doubtful debts, undelivered goods and services, warranties, amount paid to third parties, not accounting estimates, unpaid amount. So now what happened is that, if you remember, a deduction for future events, as I mentioned it, general rule is only for the item listed in the Income Tax Act, as I mentioned above. If deducted in one period, it must be deducted in the following period. Now I'll tell you how it happens. Okay. Now just don't look at the example. I'm just going to tell you something before that. You remember accounts receivable? We talked about it, right? We even talked about debts. I'm sure you must be aware about it. What are accounts receivable and what are bad debts at this moment? Accounts receivable are is when you sell the goods on credit. Okay, when you sell goods on, book the service on credit. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and now after a certain period in time, you realize when you sold the goods on credit, some customer will not pay you money. So that amount is called bad debt. So you will never realize it or never receive the money. Okay.
Never received.
Yeah. Now there is something called as there is something called as doubtful debts. Okay. So now what are doubtful debts? I'll tell you. I'm sure the name itself says. Now there are doubtful debts are debts which you are not sure. You might receive it, you might not receive it. So you may or may not. Okay. But business analyzes that, oh, some customer I'm sure we're never going to receive it, and some customer there is a doubt, still a doubt that you might receive it, you might not receive it. So in that case, CRA or even the accounting standard allows you to create some amount of reserves, and as per the Income Tax Act, you can deduct that amount of reserves. So what happens is, if you feel that, suppose you are selling the goods on credit, and there are trading and manufacturing business who sell the goods on credit for a good period of time, 3 months, 4 months, maybe 5 months sometime, and sometimes they keep procrastinating and they don't pay you. So you feel that you're not able to receive it. So you are allowed to create a reserve where whatever amount you estimate, you just try to create that reserve for that amount for that particular year. Okay. Now I will show you in the example. And so that is called the reserve for doubtful debts. Okay. It's okay. I mean, you might receive it, but you might not even receive it. And CRA allows the reserve to be created for only 3 years. Okay. This is continued only for 3 years period of time from the time you have generated that kind of income or the account receivable, and then you can create only reserves for 3 years. Now let's see. For example, at December 31st, 2017, Jones' income of his $50,000 in account receivable will be uncollectible. Okay, so he's not sure. Okay, it's uncollectible in the terms that is doubtful debt. Okay, estimate. Okay, he's not sure. So what you do is, as per Income Tax Act 21, subsection 1, that extend a year. So in that particular year, when you're filing the income tax, you deduct $2,000 from that year. However, you come to the next year and the situation of that person changes, okay? And you realize it, that person is, you're not sure, but I think this year you're not able to collect not 2,000. It's all good for that year. You are all done, okay? Next year you realize it that you're not able, it's not 2,000, it's 2,500 that you're not able to collect it. So what you do is, you try to, for the new receivables for the next year, you add up 2,000. Just don't see this first part, okay? I'm just trying to focus on this. I'll tell you the first part. What is that? So 62,500 is a new accounts receivable for the next year. Okay. So 62,500, add up 2,000 for the previous year and deduct 2,500 for this year. So previous year reserve, you have not used it. You have received every money and everything is fine. So you just add up that 2,000 and you create a new reserve for 2,500. So if you could see, that was December 2017. You deducted in 2,000. Now this is December 2018. Now you are estimating 2,500 in accounts receivable will be uncollected. Previous, you just add up back because that's all good. And now you found out the new situation, so you're going to deduct it 25.